Imagine the unending love and blind trust in the eyes of a dog, the loyalty they offer so freely, a creature that welcomes even a stranger with joy. Now, imagine the same dog caged in an illegal lab, subjected to extreme abuse and painful experiments simply so that you could use your day-to-day products. Yes, these dogs, especially beagles, go through all this suffering due to their forgiving nature, which makes them an easy target for repetitive, lethal tests. You may think that major cosmetic and household brands were up there with alternatives to animal cruelty. However, there are some still paying to kill and poison. And while it's difficult to know what brands test or not on these poor animals, we do know about some of the biggest names that do not test on animals in the U.S., but pay for deadly testing and experiments in China and elsewhere. For instance, Procter & Gamble and Estee Lauder. These are just a few among countless other brands doing similar things, being angels on paper, but devils in practice. In today's video, we tell you everything, from where they get these innocent souls and where they keep them, to what brutalities they commit in these confinements. Without further ado, let's dive into it. Federal data reveals that close to 165,000 dogs are used in experiments across the U.S. each year. A huge chunk of them are beagles, known for their unwavering loyalty and affection toward humans. Even when they're being abused, they don't bite, and thus they are put through painful, cruel, and pointless procedures. The worst thing is that federal law allows these dogs to be locked in small steel cages, where their trusting and gentle nature is met with testing instead of kindness. In labs, they're treated more like equipment than living beings, no different from a test tube or beaker. Many don't even get names, just numbers tattooed on their ears or elsewhere like a barcode on a product. For most of these dogs, life in the lab is all they'll know before it comes to a stop. You see, a multi-million-dollar industry is focused on breeding and selling beagles for this very purpose. Most dogs used in experiments, especially in the U.S., are bred specifically for research purposes on beagle farms, which operate much like factory farms. Those who are declared useless for testing are killed on the spot. Laboratories like the one in Texas A&M University have their own breeding colonies of dogs who do not get to see one day outside. Many animal shelters and pounds still sell dogs to labs for testing. Once the dogs are acquired by the labs, the only thing keeping them away from these experiments is midnight. They are put through a range of horrifying tests, especially in the context of cosmetics and household industries. For the testing of household products, dogs are frequently used in toxicology studies, where they're subjected to a harsh and painful procedure known as gavage. This includes force-feeding animals toxic chemicals, often by shoving a thick plastic tube down their throat. In many cases, these substances are even injected directly into their bloodstream with the help of a port implanted in their veins. Common test substances include experimental pharmaceuticals, industrial chemicals, pesticides, and ingredients found in household products. The goal is to study how these substances affect their bodies. Unfortunately, this cruel procedure is still a standard part of many experiments, despite the availability of more humane alternatives. At the end of the day, these dogs succumb to the tests. Most of these dogs' bodies are examined, and their organs are gathered for further studies. Big brands like Lysol, Tide, Windex, and many more still choose this killing approach to get their products ready for you. However, the biggest threat to these animals is the global cosmetic industry, which is valued at almost $600 billion. And the things they do to these dogs in the name of testing is one of the worst things you could even think for another living being, let alone act on it. Before diving into the harsh reality of what animals go through in testing, let's first take a step back and define what cosmetics are. The FDA defines cosmetics as products meant to be applied to the human body for purposes like cleansing, beautifying, or changing one's appearance without affecting the body's structure or functions. This includes common items like perfume, moisturizers, nail polish, makeup, and hair products such as conditioner or hairspray. Even the ingredients used in making cosmetics can be categorized as that. The Federal Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act, regulated by the FDA, forbids the sale of mislabeled or adulterated products, but it hasn't made it compulsory for companies to conduct useless testing on animals to demonstrate that their products are safe. But where on earth is cosmetics testing on animals conducted the most? Well, historically, China has been the front-runner in these things, with all the big brands conducting their dirty operations in China when it got banned in other countries. For years, China required all cosmetic products to undergo animal testing before they could be sold. However, there have been significant changes to these regulations. In 2014, China began allowing domestic manufacturers of ordinary cosmetics, like shampoo and mascara, to avoid animal testing, though animal testing remained mandatory for imported products. In 2021, China changed its policy once again, allowing companies to import ordinary products without animal testing. However, they still require these experiments for special case products like dye and hairspray. The European Union, however, banned the manufacturing and selling of cosmetics tested on animals in 2013. Similar laws have been passed by Canada, India, Australia, Brazil, Colombia, and South Korea. So, if a cosmetic company in the U.S. or abroad conducts animal experiments, they cannot sell their product in these countries. Although it is not as common as testing on other animals like rabbits or rodents, the use of dogs in cosmetic testing is still a big issue. While most countries, such as those in the European Union, have banned the practice, it is still allowed in many regions around the world. These tests can be invasive and extremely brutal for the beagle. It involves rubbing chemicals onto shaved skin and dripping into their eyes without any pain relief. It also includes force-feeding these chemicals to the animals over extended periods to observe potential harmful effects like cancer or birth defects. Lastly, these dogs are given large amounts of these chemicals to determine the dose that causes death. The end of these tests often means death for these animals, whether by neck breaking or decapitation. And the main culprits behind these practices are companies like Head & Shoulders, Maybelline, Pantene, Tresemme, Aquafresh, Dove, Johnson & Johnson, and the list goes on. The question is, how could companies be this heartless? Torturing animals like these and not feeling anything. And the worst part is, these results aren't even accurate and reliable. Yes, animal testing has its limitations, especially since animals often react differently to chemicals than humans, which can lead to misleading results when it comes to assessing risks to people. Even when tests are conducted across species, like mice and rats, the results can vary significantly and are sometimes hard to interpret. This inconsistency makes it challenging to guarantee consumer safety based on animal testing. On the other hand, non-animal alternatives like human cell-based tests and advanced computer simulations can offer more reliable results that closely reflect how humans would respond to the same chemicals. These methods are not only more accurate, but also quicker and cheaper than traditional animal testing. Now that you've seen and heard everything we had to say about the situation, I'm pretty sure you wouldn't give these companies one more red cent. It all starts with you, so how can you make a difference? One option would be to boycott the listed companies, raise your voice about it, and look to change your brand to brands that are cruelty-free. Look for the cruelty-free certification to ensure you are supporting companies that are practicing kindness to animals. Now, what do you think about this ongoing brutality? Have you got a better solution for it? Tell us your thoughts down in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more content.